Hi everyone, Coach Brown, Underground Functional Fitness again. Today we're with you to go over the 4-step rep process, but we're going to apply it to the squat. We're going to use this to correct the squat. Most people say they have knee injuries and they can't squat anymore. Some doctors say, okay, I can't do it in squat. However, whenever you go to therapy, squatting is actually a natural body motion, and if you do it correctly, we're going to actually try to increase your range of motion through squatting at different planes, which means we're going to lay you down, stand you up, and have you work your way into it as we keep your range of motion. It's the same like if you're riding a bike, okay? Today we have Coach Brent with us, and he's going to actually be our nice model. He volunteered again, okay? So we're going to work on his squat form. So we're going to have Brent turn aside and face me. One of the things we want to do with your squat, first of all, before you get going, Brent, go ahead and face forward again. We actually want to separate your feet. How far you separate your feet is going to be a comfortable stance for you. Be careful not going too wide. Typically they tell you the wider you actually take your feet, the more you can set your hips back. Okay? We don't want to sit up. We don't go ahead and sit back. We're going to give you a couple of tips on how we can correct your squat if you start leaning too far forward. So we want to have his hips back. The angle he turns his feet out is going to be comfortable. We don't want to go more than 30 degrees outwards, okay? Now what we want you to do, as you go to squat, before we squat, we're going to tell you this. We want your knees to track over your first 2 digits. That's going to be your big toe and the toe directly adjacent to it on the outside, okay? Going what we call laterally. You want your knee, your patella to actually track that line. Also, before you set in, most people sit here when they start with more or less a V frame going in. What I'm going to have Brent do is keeping his feet still, I'm going to have him rotate his knees out. Now, when Brent does that, he feels his glute activate. Okay, I'm not going to break him, but he feels his glute activate. That means he's nice and tight through his hips. All right. Now what we're going to have him do, we're going to actually have him sit his hips back. Okay. Go ahead and sit back for us. Down in position. Go ahead and hold that position for us. You notice Brent's, his upper body is somewhat upright. If he had a bar on his shoulders, the bar traveled straight down. It didn't come forward. It didn't come back. All right. He's sitting down in his squat position. Okay. Notice his knees are tracking over the first 2 digits. It's okay for your knees to come out a little bit lateral if your foot line, if it has to. You don't want your knees too far in front of the toes. We're going to go sideways here in a minute and let you see that. Okay. Go ahead and come up, Brent. All right. Notice Brent put his arms out. That's a nice counterbalance for him without a weight on his back. That is okay to do. Okay. The depth you want to go on your squat depends on injury, experience, and flexibility, okay? So if you're not flexible, don't worry about the range of motion somebody else has in. You want to get as low as you can, okay? Well, let me change that. Not as low as you can, as low as the muscles will allow you to go. Typically, we don't want to always go parallel, because the lower you go, we start adding what we call shear forces, okay? That's when the knee tracks forward. Okay, we want to add more of those forces on top of your knee, and that's where some people start having knee pains. We want to avoid that. So if no pain, no gain, farce, don't do it. Okay, if it feels awkward, stop. All right, Brent, go ahead and turn to face me. We're going to have Brent get into that squat position one more time. Hips back, knees tight. Okay, great, and come up. Again. And come up, okay? Now, I'm going to bring face forward. Sometimes when people actually have trouble getting into their squat position, I'm going to use a technique that was taught to me by a friend of mine called Derek Toshner, who owns TNT Fitness Results. Derek's a level 2 Russian kettlebell instructor. Great guy, great instructor. I recommend him if you get a chance to work with him, please do. Derek taught me something called a knee pry. He typically has a kettlebell in his hand, okay, what we call the goblet position. We're not going to do that with Brent today. However, what you do is you want to place your elbows on the inside of your knees. Go ahead and do that for me. You want to press your knees out, outside the lateral line, and drop your hips down. Now, you want to try to pry your knees out as you sit there, and try to pull your hips all the way forward as you can. It's going to sit you up higher. Okay? Now, if you're hunched over at your shoulders when you're in a squat position, okay, another thing that Derek taught me was to go ahead and take your arms out, press them up, and lift them up. It'll typically start to lift your shoulders up and straighten up your back. Okay? You may not be able to get it right away, but over time you'll get it. You start feeling tightness come right in the back of your shoulders. Okay? right in the thoracic part. That is good. If you feel that tightness coming in, that's what we want you to feel. So that's good. Brent, go ahead and stand up. Okay? Now, if you catch yourself where your knees start to come in front of your toes, okay, which we don't want you to do, another thing we can do is actually put you on a wall squat. Brent, go ahead and turn around and face the wall. Now, I'm going to have Brent place his feet probably no more than an inch away from his toes, no more than an inch away from the wall. Okay? Brent's the guy going to have his hands right down the middle, and now he's going to take a deep breath in, setting his core, pulling down with his hip flexors, and setting his hips back. He wants to keep that tight as he goes. So he's going to breathe in through his nose. Go ahead and start. Sit and exhale and stand. Okay? Now you'll know if you're doing this wrong, because if you actually release your core from your nose when you actually breathe in and you actually set your core, if you release that, you'll actually feel yourself start to tip over or fall backwards. You're going to have to take a step. Okay? Over time, getting comfortable and setting your core will help you stay in position. Keeping your hips tight and pulling down to hip flexors and sitting back will help you sit tight. Okay? So please be patient with yourself as you start to do these wall squats. Brent, go ahead and do it again for me. Good. Very good. Go ahead and turn this forward. If you have any questions for us, please contact us at undergroundfunctionalfitness.com. You can go ahead to our website and fill out a contact form for us, and that way we can actually go ahead and contact you within 48 hours if you contacted us. Give Brent a hand, and thank you.